Okay. So I believe that is good to go. And then when we're ready to call the meeting to order, let me know and I'll hit record so we can start recording the meeting.
Okay.
I drove through West Linn. I cannot believe how many trees went down out there. It's crazy.
It was nuts. It was really bad right after the storm. Nate, did you have power throughout or were you out of power?
Yeah, no, we lost power for five days. It was, yeah, it's just a disaster. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What about you guys, Rory and Bill?
Well, I had no power for 5 days, no cell phone, no internet, no nothing.
Wow.
Under-
Rory, did you have power?
Actually, yeah, I'm down in River Heights off Dollar Street, and our little neighborhood kept power for the whole time. But
Wow, that's great.
two blocks down the street, everywhere was dark,
Which is crazy. That was kind of how it was. I live in like Lake Oswego area, and we didn't have power for about a day and a half, but like it was like street by street, it felt like. So, okay, I think we can go ahead and get started, Josh, if you're
Okay.
ready. Just let me
hit
know.
record.
Okay.
Recording cloud. Yep. Okay. Okay. I clicked on recording. The meeting is now recording, so we can proceed.
Great, thank you. This is the audit committee on March 1st, 2021. It's 4 p.m. And we're here today to talk about a couple things. First, we're going to have a report from our Tanya Moffett from Marina and Company to discuss the fiscal year 2020 audit and the results of that. It was a very successful audit from our standpoint. We once again enjoyed working with Tanya and her team. A little bit different this year with it being a remote audit for most of it, but it was good and it worked really well. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit. We have the audit RFP that went out, and we're going to talk a little bit about that process and hopefully the audit committee making a recommendation to council today or today, making the recommendation to bring forward to council next Monday. I guess we can call roll. I'll just go around. Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm the finance director. And want to go next?
Sure. I'm Josh Cam. I'm the finance manager.
Rory?
Roy Bielostowski, city councilor.
Councilor Relia?
Yeah, Council President Bill Relier.
Yeah. And Mr. Reagan?
And Nate Reagan, the citizen audit committee member.
And then Ms. Moffett.
And I'm Tanya Moffett, and I am with Marina and Company. I'm the managing partner who is in charge of the City of West Lynn's June 30, 2020 audit.
Great. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Moffett and to discuss the results of the audit.
Well, welcome audit committee members. I am here to present the June 30, 2020 audit for the City of West Linn, and I am excited to let you know that we had what is considered an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements. That's the highest level of financial statement opinion that we're allowed to give on financial statements. And then I want to point out a few things about the financial statements. So this year was a little bit unique, like Lauren alluded to. We did the audit a lot differently than we have in the past. We did the majority of the work remotely to keep the city staff safe and to keep our team safe as well. We did go on site for a day and get some information, but for the most part, everything was done remotely. And I just, hats off to Lauren and Josh and their team, and even people outside of finance for getting us back the information quickly and having a smooth audit. Anytime you go from something that you've been doing it one way to something that's a little bit different, you never know how that's going to go. So it worked very smoothly. From our perspective, we got everything that we asked for in a timely manner. We were able to tie out all the information to the supporting documentation as well. So overall, it was a great audit from our perspective. On the City of West Lynn's financial statements, it is a comprehensive annual financial report. And so what that is it's actually an award program that the city goes for through the Government Finance Officers Association. And that program is something that is great because the city is going above and beyond what the requirements are. So for example, in the city's financial statements, there is in the back of it, there's a section called the statistical section. That has 10 years worth of information. And that takes a lot of time and effort from city staff to get that information. It's not just finance, there's also operation data, employees, police data, all sorts of public works data, all sorts of information that goes in there that the city goes above and beyond. That's above and beyond what the requirements are to get that award. And so we anticipate that the city will receive that award for the June 30, 2020 audit. They did receive it for the June 30, 2019 audit. So in the financial statements, there's the award is for 2019 is in the financial statements, but that just shows the level of effort and time that the city staff is putting into the financial statements to be able to get this high level award. So what happens is they submit the financial statements for the award program. Then independent reviewers throughout the country look at the financial statements to make sure that there's no errors, that things tie out to each other, that the information makes sense, that they're following all of the government accounting standards, and that the financial statements are at the highest level of financial statements that they can be. And so we anticipate the city will receive that for the June 30, 2020 audit, but that is something that they go above and beyond and do. Not all cities participate in that. So I do want to give the finance team hats off for that and the fact that we think that they'll get it again as well. It's probably one of my favorite places to look because you can compare and see how the city was doing 10 years ago. You have to take into consideration that government accounting standards, we like to change things up a lot. And so sometimes they might look a little bit different because there's been some sort of accounting change, but you can usually tell because there's typically, it might be numbers and then they disappear. And it's probably because of an accounting change. But for the June 30, 2019 and the June 30, 2020 financial statements, there was no new accounting pronouncements that changed anything in the financial statement. So if you compare the June 30, 2019 and the June 30, 2020, those financial statements for the most part are apples to apples for being able to compare them. We applied limited procedures to what's considered the management's discussion and analysis, but that's probably one of my second favorite spots in the financial statements because it's a high level. It's total government-wide information and it compares current year and prior year information. So it's a great place to look at that. If there's like changes within the budget, if there's changes between assets from last year to this year, it talks about what those changes are and how those changes came about. And so it's a great place to look and get a snapshot of how the city is doing in within the last year and those changes between 2019 and 2020. We applied limited procedures to the management discussion and analysis, as well as some of the city's other post-employment healthcare benefit statements, as well as some of the pension statements in the financial statements. The introductory section we did not audit, as well as the statistical section we did not audit that. But we do compare that information to the rest of the financial statements to make sure that it makes sense. We didn't have any restrictions placed on our audit and no significant difficulties during the course of the audit. The financial statements have some accounting estimates in them. So for example, depreciation, we don't know exactly how long a cop car is going to last. So we anticipate that it's going to last so long, but maybe they get in an accident and it only lasts, 6 months. So we don't know exactly how long assets are going to last. So depreciation is one of the accounting estimates in the financial statements, as well as accrued compensated absences. So what accrued compensated absences is that city employees have accrued vacation time that they get to take. And we don't know if they're going to take it this year when they're at their current salary rate. They might have a cost of living increase or maybe a salary increase. So that liability could actually be a little bit higher for the city depending on when those employees take that vacation. The largest accounting estimate in the city's financial statement is the net pension liability. And the net pension liability is calculated by an actuary. And so this is not an estimate that the city comes up with. As long as the city is meeting their required annual contribution amounts that they're required to make, theoretically that will cover that pension liability. Even though it's a large amount, theoretically they're covering it because those increase over time to help cover that pension liability. The other estimate is the other post-employment healthcare benefit, which is like the pension liability, except for it's for employees that are no longer working for the city but are paying to be on the city's insurance. And so they bring up the plan cost a little bit. And so there's a little bit of a gap between the two amounts. And so the other post-employment healthcare benefit is also another estimate on the financial statements, but it is the same as the pension, where if the city makes their annual required contributions, they will cover that liability in the future. So those are the primary estimates in the city's financial statements. We didn't note any financial statement transactions that were strange or unusual so that the city had to go out and make up their own accounting rules. Everything has accounting standards within the city's financial statements, and they're following the appropriate government accounting standards. In some cases, management may decide to consult with outside consultants, but we are not aware of the city consulting with outside accountants for this fiscal year. For the, there is also an auditor's report at the almost the very end of the financial statements, and it is the auditor's report required by Oregon state legislation or Oregon state regulations. So the Oregon state legislators tell Oregon municipal auditors that there's some specific things that they want us to look at that are not necessarily finance related. So for example, Oregon public purchasing rules, which is ORS 279, it talks about how if the city goes out for bid for something that they have to put it in a public place so that everybody has an opportunity to bid on projects. So if there's a construction project going on, the city has to give everybody an equal opportunity to apply and be able to try to get that work. And so we look to see that the city made the proper public notifications in the paper. We look to make sure that the process was followed that's in the Oregon state regulations. So we make sure that the process was followed and that the city is selecting the most qualified applicant and then doing the proper notification to let the individuals that didn't receive the bid know that they didn't get it, as well as making sure a follow-up that the people that were successful in getting the bid, that the city has insurance. That they're covered by that so that the person puts them on their insurance. So we go and test these on a sample basis to make sure that the city's following these rules. We also look at highway funds, so gas tax funds, to make sure that the city is using those funds appropriately, like having bike lanes, things like that. Whatever those rules are, we go and look at those things for that. So those are some of the things that we looked at during the audit that the Oregon State Legislature has asked us to look at, and we didn't have any findings for the city in any of the compliance areas that we looked at. So they're following the rules on those things. We have really appreciated having the opportunity to work with you as well as the City Council and the city staff and team. We are really sad that we don't work in the city of West Linn anymore. Some of you may know that we used to be in the city of West Linn. but we still have strong ties there. Like all my doctors and everything are still there because my optometrist are there. And we still have strong ties. Like I said, I drove through there the other day just because I was curious how West Linn was doing because I had heard that you guys had gotten hit so hard. Drove past our old office to see there's some trees down there, and you know, we wish we were still in West Linn, but unfortunately there wasn't a big enough space for us at the time when we were moving. But we have really appreciated working with you guys, and we're curious if there's any questions that you have for us on the financial statements or on the presentation, anything like that.
I don't see any hands. Are there any questions for Ms. Moffett?
My contact information is in the financial statements on the auditor's reports. So if you have questions later on and you want to reach out to us, please let us know. We are always available year round to answer any questions that the audit committee or city council might have. So it's been a pleasure working with you guys.
And thank you, Ms. Moffett. We've really appreciated you working with you too and enjoyed it. And thank you for your great report. If there aren't any other questions, you could feel free to drop off, and then you'll be back for the council meeting this evening.
Yeah. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Night. Well, with that being said, I think we can move on to our next topic, which is the audit RFP, unless there's any other questions about prior year audit. Okay. So for the RFP, we went out for bid. Best practices to go out for RFP for financial services like the audit every 5 years. We have had Marina and Company as our auditors for the last 5 years. Prior to that, we had a 6-year audit. Our audit was contract was for 6 years with Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick. Both firms have bid on the next 5-year audit process. They are the only 2 firms that bid on it. Both are excellent firms, wonderful to work with. Josh and I actually both used to work for TKW, Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick. So we know the firm well. They're a great firm. And Marina and Company, obviously, as you've seen, is very thorough and easy to work with. With that, we had these 2 RFP responses. Marina and Company's response came in about $10,000 lower each year. Their base was $50,000 and for the first year, and TKW's base was $60,000 for the first year. Each firm increases about 3% per year for the 5 years. So over the total contract, Marina came in about $53,000 less than Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick. As I said, we've really enjoyed working with Marina over the last 5 years. They have been very helpful with CARES Act funding, guidance, and helping us through the pandemic, in addition to helping us implement some very complex GASBs. With it being a budget season and still in a pandemic and still working with the CARES Act, and also with them coming in significantly under the bid for Talbot and Corvola, our finance department is going to recommend that the audit committee recommend to the council that we continue with Marina, but that is up to the audit committee, and that is something that I would like the 3 of you to discuss today and hopefully come up with a recommendation to the council. And so with that, I will turn it over to you 3 audit committee members to discuss and make a recommendation to council, hopefully.
Is 2 responses what you were expecting to hear?
Yes, generally, that's exactly what we heard the last time. Also, the same 2 firms. there are not a lot of firms that work in local government. In Talbot Corvola and Warwick and Marina and Company are the two firms that work in medium-sized governments like West Linn. There are some larger firms like Moms. Generally, they bid on counties, like Multnomah County, Clackamas County, and much larger cities. And then there are some smaller audit firms that do government clients that are generally bidding on the smaller cities, and might go for a larger city like West Linn, but it was definitely to be expected that there was going to be two, if not three, firms that would bid on us.
I guess can I jump in now, Lauren?
Absolutely.
I just want to start by thanking Nate for being here and for your volunteering your time during your workday to serve on the audit committee. I guess my opinion is that if staff is satisfied with the audit that was done by Marina and they don't see any reason to, and since they bid $10,000 under the other firm, then I would agree with the staff recommendation to recommend going with them.
Great.
Agreed. I don't see any reason to change if you and the team are happy.
Great. Councillor Lilia, do you have any comments on that, or?
I don't. Just another great year, and you guys are always doing outstanding work. And I've always been happy with Marina's work. They're the same company that does that work for South Fork Water Board.
Absolutely.
And, we recommended this last year that South Fork Water Board incorporate the same process that was discussed here earlier as far as the historical data. And they did so, and we're looking forward to perhaps receiving some kind of award from their report. So, you know, it's great leadership on your team's part in order to do that, and you know, it just seems to be becoming a, if you will, a trend in the industry, at least for those of us working as liaisons on behalf of the city of West Linn.
Correct. Yes. And that was another point. Thank you, Councillor Elia, for making that point. Marina and Company does audit South Fork Water Board, which is a joint venture between the city of West Linn and Oregon City. So it is very helpful to have that connection and to know, to have the updates of where their audit is at. Our audit is unable to be issued until South Fork Water Board's audit is issued. And that's generally why we issue a little bit later. And as you might remember, this year, because of some CARES Act funding issues, South Fork Water Board was not able to issue by the December 31st deadline, and they had to extend. They were waiting on some more information from the state and their CARES Act funding before they could finalize their report. And therefore, we had to extend our audit to January 31st. This is our first year that we've filed an extension, but not a problem. Everything was filed by the January 31st deadline, and we should be in compliance with everything and still hopefully get our GFOA award. So with that, it sounds like everyone's in consensus with recommending to the council next week that we move forward with Marina, but I don't know if we want to just go through and do a quick vote. I'm happy to do that. I'll start with Councillor Bielostowski.
Yes.
Councillor Elia.
Yes.
Citizen member, Mr. Reagan.
Yes.
Great. Thank you all. And if there are not any other questions or comments, I will make that recommendation to the council next Monday, and two of which are here, and we will go from there. Any other questions for us?
Just a statement of good work.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Good work. Good work as always.
take a second to really recognize our department. You know, this has been a tough year with the pandemic, the wildfires, and just this recent ice storm. And I've been impressed by our department. They've come in every day and kept a positive attitude and worked hard and went above and beyond every day to get what we need to do every day and stay positive through all of it. So it really is a testament to our department and our staff for putting in that hard work and holding themselves to a high standard to get these reports and records into our auditors and to be able to work with them on a great personal level too, work well with them and get the audit despite all the challenges we faced this past year. So,
Yes, and I absolutely second that. Thank you for saying that, Josh. I really do agree with that. We have an incredible staff that make our job a lot easier, and so we really do appreciate them showing up and working hard and having a lot of changes this year that haven't necessarily been easy. So thank you all to the finance staff and the other supporting departments who have helped us with the items that we need from them, this work done. So thank you. And with that, if there's no other questions, I will adjourn the meeting.
okay.
Thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Bye.
good night. Okay.
Thanks to you both. Very